All right. Hello, this is Wmpyr. Here to talk about uh myself. It's kind of weird for me to do this. I don't really like to talk about myself, but a little while back I did an interview. I was interviewed, and the guy um he almost like had this impression that I was like super into horror films, and he made it sound like all I do is martial arts and watch horror films. And that kind of bothered me to be put typecasted like that. You know what I mean? And I wanted to make this video to kind of like I guess clear my name in a sense, because if that's who you think I am, is a guy that all he does is just does martial arts and watches a whole bunch of horror films, then is simply not true. When I was in high school, I was very angry, so at that time, yeah, I watched a lot of horror films. um, Growing up, I grew up bicultural, so that was Japan and also the U.S., and both were very dear to me. That's what I knew. That's where I grew up in was both countries. So, being bicultural, I felt like I didn't belong 100% anywhere, and also it made education double the amount, right? Because now I had to learn everything in Japanese, learn everything in English, so it's double the work. And I didn't like school to begin with, so you could just imagine now it's double. It was brutal for me, and the expectations that my family put on me, being the firstborn and things like that, it wore me down, and it made me a very angry person. At first, when I think of myself as a child, I wasn't that way. I was very smiley, happy, cute little boy, should I say myself. But over time, life like kicked in, and yeah, other people's ugliness like um, made my life difficult. And a big part of that was also I was born with severe asthma, chronic severe asthma. So my health was incredibly bad. Very severe allergies and constantly sick. I would even pass out. I passed out many times in school, in Japan, in the US, and I was bullied in both countries as a kid. So, yeah, those kinds of things just it made my life um, very difficult. So, how did I deal with that? I became introverted, very introverted, and yeah, at those times I got into horror films big time. But now that I'm a lot happier, um, I don't I don't find myself watching horror films. Yeah, and to put it simply, I am a nerd. I am geeky. I'm into nerd stuff. So because I had chronic asthma, I couldn't go out and play all the time outside with the other kids. Um, I remember times that I rode my bike and stuff, but a lot of times also just a small thing would trigger my asthma, and I could easily end up in the hospital. So, which I did many times. Um, so a lot of times I was inside playing Legos. So I'm gonna try to stop saying so much. I apologize. Um, playing a ton of Legos as a kid, and that never left me. I continued to play Legos. The way it was when I was a kid and I wanted something, like I would see a commercial and I'd be like, oh, I want that toy. And I knew my parents would not buy it for me. Therefore, I would make it out of Lego. And then that's what I did many, many times. Um, and I believe that the Lego there also helped me develop like a more uh, how would I say, that kind of mind. I wasn't the physical kind of kid that would go outside and play catch or was an athlete. That was definitely not me. The the mind of like building things and looking at the pieces that I have and going, what can I make out of this? How can I make what I'm looking at out of Legos? Those kinds of um, mind is what developed in me since a young age, and that transferred over into the martial arts where it made me very technical. So throughout the years, as I was training in martial arts, my teachers said to me, many times they referred to me as Wmpyr is a technical guy. Like he has a technical mind. He can teach. He can break things down. He understands the technical side of things pretty well. Is many times I receive those kinds of compliments, and I believe that comes from the Lego. Um, yeah, and I enjoy that very much. The puzzle type of thing, and that's what I'm doing to this day. Is a lot of cognitive research and cognitive exercises with the martial arts. Right now, I'm obsessed with organizing my martial arts material in a clear and simple manner um, through training and practice and all that stuff. That's what I'm doing at this moment, and in a way, it's mental Lego, but with martial arts. The pieces are martial arts pieces, if that makes sense. Um, and yeah, I was into, still am into other very very nerdy and geeky stuff. For example, one of the things that I do like that is actually horror related is I like to read Goosebumps, the children's book. Um, it kind of makes me feel like I'm in a time machine and I get to go visit the childhood days in a way. So I enjoy that. I do enjoy this reading Goosebumps, choose your own adventure books, that kind of stuff. I have fun doing that. I read all kinds of books, nonfiction, fiction, classical literature. Yeah, and it's not that I just read absolutely anything. Whether it's video games, board games, or books, comic books, anything, I tend to stay away from super mainstream, is something that I've noticed. If it is very mainstream, I like it from the past. For example, if we're going to talk about like DC Comics or Marvel, as far as comic books go, those are the most mainstream, right? Here in the US. Um, if that's what we're going to be talking about, then I tend to prefer the older stuff, like from the 80s, 90s. That's the stuff that I like. So if we're talking like Marvel comics, I'm into, for example, was a Marvel New Universe, and a lot of people today don't know that. They have no idea. Like they've never heard of like Star Brand. Um, yeah. Uh, Back in the day when the UFC first came out, I was super into it. Now that it's like very mainstream, I'm not really that into it. That's just an example. I prefer like indies. I like art very, very much. All kinds of art, whether it's movies, music, anything. I like art. Period. And I myself, to me, martial artist is art. And also, I like to draw, illustrate. I never took it, really developed it, but artsy stuff I like to do. Arts and crafts stuff. I did do some like resin stuff before. Yeah, I just enjoy art, building models and stuff. I've done all that kind of stuff. But really, the two that I stick to art wise is really um, martial arts. Like me doing, as far as me doing, is martial arts and illustrations. Those are the two. As you can see right here in the top left, that is my logo. That I wouldn't say that necessarily I did illustrate it because I just used a program on my laptop where I'm just manipulating shapes to create that. But it is the Frankenstein and Dracula combined logo. So it's my Frankula um, logo. And yeah, that might be another thing. Why that? Is it because you're horror obsessed? Well, what it is when I was a kid, the first movie that I saw was Young Frankenstein, Mel Brooks's Young Frankenstein. That was the very, very first film, and I didn't know that that was like a comedy film. Like I thought all Frankenstein movies, all horror movies were going to be funny. As a kid watching a comedy movie, it's very easy to like it and relate to it. If it was scary, I would be terrified and I wouldn't have been able to watch it. I'm talking about the age of like 4 years old or maybe even younger is when I first saw it. Young Frankenstein. The second movie I ever saw was um, oh my goodness, I'm drawing a blank here, but it's a Dracula film. Once again, comedy. It's called Love at First Bite, starring oh my goodness, what is his name? He also did Zorro, the Gay Blade, which I watched a million times. Um, oh my goodness, I forgot his name. He was a big star in the like 70s, 80s, I think. 80s especially. Yeah, maybe I don't know about 70s, but yeah, 80s for sure. Oh, I forgot his name. But anyway, that was also a comedy movie, but Dracula was the main character. So I thought all Dracula movies were going to be comedy and funny. But anyway, I fell in love with those two characters, Frankenstein's monster and Dracula. Ever since that age, I've always liked Frankenstein's monster, Dracula, the Wolfman, all of those guys because at some point I did understand and recognize that those movies were scary. Like, well, maybe not the classic Universal horror, but they were meant to be scary or creepy or disturbing or bizarre, you know. And even when I after I realized that, I was still drawn to those characters immensely because I understood that those characters were outcasts. And that's exactly how I felt. Like nobody liked me. Like I felt like I didn't belong. I just felt like those guys were my kindred. The creatures of the night were my kindred. So yeah, that's why the logo I chose that. And yeah, you might be going, yeah, why on earth would you pick, those monsters as your logo um, for your martial arts stuff? And for me, it just It makes sense. And then now, to give it martial arts meaning, the Frankenstein's monster was about cross training. Frankenstein's monster is made of many parts. So cross training is you train in a bunch of styles. So that's the symbolism is Frankenstein's monster for me. And as far as the Dracula goes, Dracula for me is conquering your inner demons. So I told you because I was bullied and there was a lot of expectations thrown on me and I was having trouble being bicultural and all that. It made me very dark. A dark side in me came out, and and I was also in a very toxic environment in many ways at school and also at home. It was very toxic. Now that I look back on it, and yeah, so I didn't want to let that dark side in me take over and make me a dark, miserable person. So instead, befriend the Dracula and conquer it, really coexist with it. And that's what the Dracula part is about, is facing your inner demons. So that's why these two, I will never change this logo. People could say it has nothing to do with martial arts. It doesn't go well. You should change that. No, I super disagree. And for me, it makes a lot of sense. and, and that's why I continue to this day on with it. Um, yeah. Um, but yeah, I guess the nerdy side in me, I tend to like I said, art wise, I really like the indie stuff. If we're talking about movies, rather than watching mainstream movies, I prefer indies. Same with just about anything. I like a lot of indies stuff. Mainstream stuff, especially today, is it's difficult for me to enjoy. I try to. I will still do so. I'll try my best, but it's definitely not my to go. And as far as just like nerdy stuff goes, sci-fi fantasy might be the area that I tend to like. So you might be going like, be more specific. Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. It's comedy. It's sci-fi. Um, it's fantasy. I like the movie. I know a lot of people didn't, and I also like the TV show that they did back in the day a lot. I read the book fairly recently, and I was disappointed in it. Actually, I wanted to like it so much because I like the movies, but the book was not as good for me. Yeah, and I think that makes me probably the minority there. A lot of people would disagree with me there, but I could go into details, but that'll make this video too long. So I don't need. This is not about that. So I'm not going to go into details about it. About it. But um, yeah, I enjoy doing book reviews. Like once in a blue moon, I like to read a very serious nonfiction book. So I just mentioned sci-fi fantasy. So now this is the polar opposite. The last book that I read that was nonfiction. Oh, you know what? I'm reading one right now, and it's about the Lewis and Clark expedition, where they are, mapping out the United States back in the day. Um, Fascinating book. It's done in journal format, and I find the topic extremely interesting. As far as the writing goes, for some reason, I'm having a hard time getting into it. Um, I don't know why. It's not like the vocabulary is super difficult or the writing style is so old that I'm having trouble understanding it. It's none of those things, and the topic is very, very interesting. and it's done in journal format, so it's real short. It's almost like paragraphs at a time, but I don't know. For some reason, I'm having a hard time really getting through it. But then there's other books where I could just I have trouble putting them down, and I just zip through. The other book that I read was about this guy. He became a drug trafficking mule and got caught in Thailand back in the day, and he was put in Thai prison. And he is he a British guy? No, Australian guy. I don't remember. I'm sorry about the details, but I already did a book review. I do book reviews, so I don't forget this kind of stuff, and I put them up on my Deviant Art page. But anyway, this guy got sent to Thai prison. I think things are way better now, but back in the day, Thai prison was one of the worst prisons in the world. And boy, he went into details, and it was horrific. I couldn't believe that this existed, and this is a true life story. And yeah, oh my goodness. It just, reading about it, I don't know. There's something about that kind of stuff that just it humbles me, and it makes me appreciate my life. When things are going hard, I think about that and I go, "Oh, what he went through is a million times worse than what I'm going through right now." I just say that to myself, and yeah, just I believe appreciating life is extremely important. One last thing before I close, because this video is going to get too long, is I was married before. So right now, I'm currently single. I have dated since, and I met some wonderful ladies, and I'm really thankful for the experiences that I got to experience. Um, yeah, one. So after my divorce, um, I got rid of like 90% of all my nerd stuff. I had a whole bunch of action figures, a ton of video games, a ton of movies, a ton of board games, all that, 90% of it, or maybe even higher, 99% of it is all gone. Just, you know, because I've had to move from apartment to apartment. Now I'm in apartment life. And now, yeah, being single, it doesn't work with that to have a whole bunch of stuff. And also, I like being minimalistic because happiness doesn't come from things. And if it does for you, then you're just going to be constantly acquiring things, buying things. And to me, eventually, you're just going to find a void there. It's so spiritually, happiness, that's not the way to go. And actually being minimalistic and being appreciative about things, to me, is the way to go for happiness. So I'm trying to head in that direction as best as I can, and I still feel like I have a lot of stuff, but it's nothing compared to, literally nothing compared to what I used to have. I had so much stuff that if I put it in a big room, it would fill up with all my junk that I you couldn't even walk. Right? That's how it would have been. But yeah, I'm glad to have gotten rid of that, and yeah, I have a lot of hobbies, but and I definitely have a comfort zone. I know what I like, right? But at the same time, I'm also like the two girls that I've dated since the divorce, and I think it's two. I might be forgetting someone, but the two girls, one girl was in Galveston, and so I got to live in Galveston for about a year, and that was a wild ride. Um, it took me out of my comfort zone, but I got to experience life in Galveston Island on the beach, and it was great. I am open to experiencing new things. Um, like I said, I have a comfort zone for sure. I am definitely a Cancer. My horoscope is a Cancer and a Rabbit, and they're very, very true to me. And really, the Cancer is an introverted. It's like a shy, and also like empath. Yeah, I'm very sensitive to emotions and things like that. Um, and a water sign. Definitely love the water. And then on the other hand, I'm also my Chinese zodiac sign is a rabbit. A rabbit is definitely into peace. And I feel like in many ways I've been very lucky in life, and a rabbit is said to be one of the luckiest signs. So there you go. But yeah, where was I going with this? Oh, the second girlfriend. Yeah, we went to Japan together, and that's something I don't do often. That was a wild trip. Um, Moved to Arkansas. Uh, left Texas, which I've just been in Texas most of my life. So to go from Texas and go from like the beach of Galveston to now in Arkansas, where it's more mountainous. This is new for me. Mountain is new, and I do enjoy learning new things and experiencing new things as well. I do believe it's good to once in a while get out of your bubble and stuff, um, and just enjoy life, appreciate life, kind of thing. So I don't know what my next chapter in life is going to be like. All I can do is be as prepared as possible, and be open and go with the flow, right? go go with the flow. So yeah, I said so one more time. Hopefully this is the last time. And now in closing, I want to say that when I was a kid, I felt like I was this bright as in not intelligent, but bright as in very positive, fun-loving kid, and over time became a dark human being. And now, once again, I feel bright, the brightness returning, and uh, I feel very good about that. And the martial arts wise, it's been the most fun is right now. Right now, it hasn't been. It's been fun, but it's also been very hard. It's very tough training. But now has been the most fun, is what I can tell you guys. But anyway, yeah, that's it for now. Thank you guys for listening, and take care, folks.